We are
All
back.
right.
I'm
Okay.
I've got drink number 2. That must mean we're in the second
Okay.
half. How do you feel How do you feel so
Is there
far?
a halftime show?
No. Yes, Gooby is gonna dance for us. Come on, Gooby. Come on. Come on. Gooby's the halftime mascot. What do you have to say for yourself? Why do you look guilty? What did you do? What did you do? He's like, Dad, you're embarrassing me. Okay. Oops, let's get my mic up here where people can hear it. All right. That was the halftime show. I hope it was good. I hope you enjoyed it. All right. Let's see here. While I was gone, I think I eliminated one of the possibilities. So, good news. I'm pretty sure I know which one you are, but I kind of have to try to prove that you're not that. So that's
So,
that's
so, so
that's
so
what
if
I'm
you
gonna
try to
do.
prove, the type that you think, if you
I
try to prove I'm not the type you think I am, then am I left with no type?
No, it means then I have to backtrack a little bit, but I should be able to. I should not be able to. It should be falsifiable. I should be able to either disprove that you are this type, or if I ask more type specific questions. Because up to this point I've been doing cognitive function stuff, but if I just ask you things that I know about that are kind of like quirks of this type, then I can kind of I can try to see if I'm right or not. But I'll still have to ask you at the end what you think. So I mean,
Okay.
at the end of the day, it's only
All right.
my thought. So
Okay.
um, let's see. The problem is there's all these terms that get thrown around in typology, and if you've studied it for any amount of time, you've got all this baggage. So you can use a term, and it can have all this predetermined baggage. You have to figure out ways to ask questions that are like dance around. Have you ever done any teaching in your life?
I have, yes.
And how did that? And did you find that came to you pretty naturally?
Um, I think like explaining the ideas,
Mm-hmm.
it comes pretty naturally. But I remember before I became a librarian, I taught chemistry for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the harder part was um, the connecting with the students part of it, because it's like all these students kind of you know had all these different learning styles, different preferences, and then kind of try to meet them in the middle. And it
Uh-huh.
was kind of like okay, you know I have this agenda that I need to teach, and we need to teach this stuff, and then students would not be happy about the grade they got,
Right.
and then they want to like talk in class while I'm teaching, and just kind of things like that were kind of like
You didn't like that.
um like just teaching and explaining the material is easy, and if
Mm-hmm.
if the students want to be there and wanted to learn, but when there was all this other crap in there, it wasn't so good. And I think right now I kind of like my profession as a librarian. I think that suits me more because I mean I'm doing a lot of instructing of people, but it's more one on one, so I can kind of meet them at their level. Like I kind of know better what approach I need to take. Whereas you're teaching a big class of people, and this person needs this and this person needs that, and I mean Yeah.
So, let me ask you some other questions. You mentioned that you enjoyed consuming the arts and that you enjoyed music. Um,
Hmm.
what kind of art do you gravitate towards?
Um, I don't think it's. I don't think I can limit it to a particular category. It's kind of more just um, you know, just things I happen to find visually
Mm-hmm.
catching to the eyes. So I do um like landscape, like a beautiful landscape painting, and like some impressionistic works, but then sometimes it could be a piece of abstract art. I can't pin it down to a certain type really, or and sometimes it could just even be enjoying the scenery around me, or just reading a good book, or you
Mm-hmm.
know it, or a movie, that kind of thing too.
How often would you say you're in the moment? Is that something that, in other words, if you like, some people live a great deal in the past, like they are
Hmm.
constantly working through their experiences.
Hmm.
Some people are literally like right here and right now, and the past doesn't
Hmm.
really matter a whole lot, and the
Hmm.
future probably doesn't matter a whole lot. And some people are just stuck in the future, and they're thinking about next week and next year and whatever, and
Hmm.
it's hard to get them into the now or
Yeah.
even so where do you fall on that spectrum, do you think?
I kind of switch back and forth a lot between the past. I'll reminisce about the past,
Mm-hmm.
or when I'm at my worst, um like kind of relive something unpleasant from the past, and like I should
Mm-hmm.
just let it go.
Right.
And I'll also do a lot of like anticipating the future, and kind of thinking ahead, and thinking
Yeah.
about what's going to happen, and
Possibilities.
possibilities
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And then I also do have some enjoyment, of the immediate present moment, but sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not as fully into the present as I could be, because I'm either
Sure.
too much into the past or too much into the future, and
Yeah,
sometimes I'm
yeah,
not always
yeah.
right here enough, which is why I find like something like meditation really difficult to do, because you got to be fully in the moment, and I'm always wanting to think about something else.
Do you feel like your brain needs to always be kind of moving? Does it always need to be thinking,
Yeah,
working on
yeah,
different some other thing or whatever? It's got to be preoccupied, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, like I could sit in an like if I'm at a doctor's office, I could sit in the waiting room. I could sit in there for quite a while, but I have to have something to occupy my mind
You
with.
right.
I have to have my phone,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or something to read, or just something.
Sure,
I
sure,
mean,
sure.
if I had nothing, I'd just sit in a chair. I'd go pretty
Okay,
crazy.
so here's a question I have. Do you ever feel like you feel like you should be able to come up with plans to enact your idealism, but you feel in some ways unable for some reason to enact your idealistic plans?
Um, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I because I think sometimes my ideal I guess it kind of depends on what it is. Like if there are plans to change the world or something,
Mm-hmm.
I know I can't change the world alone.
Mm-hmm.
At best I could, promote, I could promote some kind of cause that I feel strongly about, or donate money, or something, or make people more aware. so I mean, and I'll admit I don't take as active of a role in that as I could. It's just kind of something I'm thinking in my head. Oh, the world could be like this, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really doing anything. If it's just kind of more myself, okay, well, this is something that I want to work on about myself. I want to get in better shape, for example. Then yeah, then it's kind of easier to kind of work out some plan to make that happen. Or
Sure.
I want to become I want to learn French or something. Then I can make a plan to learn French.
Sure. Sure.
But sometimes I'm not always the most disciplined about keeping those plans. Like if nobody's watching me, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not accountable to anybody, then I may not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're at 53 minutes in.
Okay.
I think I know what type, at least
Okay.
in my opinion, I think
All right.
I could spend more time, but I think
Sure.
I've known what I think my opinion is for a couple of minutes, so that's enough probably for me
Okay.
to.
Sure.
Um, so basically, what I'll do is I'll ask you to tell me in a second. I'll ask you to tell me what you think your type is based on the tests you've taken or whatever. Then I will show you what I've written down,
Okay.
and then we can talk about it, because if it's different, that'll be interesting, and we'll who knows if we'll find resolution tonight. But the point will be, at least
Hmm.
you can rewatch the video, and other people can watch the video, and maybe people will weigh in the comments, uh, as to what type they think you are. Um,
Okay.
so, what type do you think you are, or that you saw in tests or whatever?
Well, when I take online tests, I kind of get the result that a lot of people get. I'll get like INFJ, or I'll get like one of those types in the introvert intuitive quadrant.
Yes. You ready
Um,
to see what I
and
wrote
it's
down?
usually one of those four types. Sometimes okay. um, yeah, so sometimes I will get INFP or
Mm-hmm.
INTJ.
I don't
Kind of
think
one
you're
of
an
those.
INFJ. I can tell you. I can
Okay.
tell you pretty confidently you're not an
Yeah,
INFJ.
I don't think I have very good introverted intuition.
Right. It's
And I mean,
and
yeah,
extroverted feeling. Your feelings would be a lot more outward than they are.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
because I know with the cognitive functions that type did not make sense.
right.
But then like with dichotomies, it's kind of like, well, I'm kind of balanced on JP, but
Well,
like if you go into each dichotomy one
sure.
by one and you ignore the cognitive functions altogether,
I don't. Well, but the thing is, though, then people, there's theories where people have said
Hmm.
that there's that you shouldn't look at the dichotomies at all,
Hmm.
but that, for example, people who lead with introverted intuition, though they are judging types, lead with a perceiving function, as it's called. So
Hmm.
it's a little deceptive to say INFJ, because INFJs lead with perception, although they are
Hmm.
organized, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's where things get a little tricky. But I don't know. So do you have any? So I guess it's not surprising to you that that's what I would think that you were. I guess.
It's not surprising. Um, it was one of the types I was considering,
Mm-hmm.
but to tell you the truth, I kind of go back and forth between like four types.
Sure. Tell me what they are, and I will tell you why I think you are not those other
and
types.
and and none of them but none of them totally fit me. I can find
Mm-hmm.
things that's like, well, yeah, but this.
So
I
what were those other types?
INTP was
Okay.
one of them.
Okay.
I've had some people, you know, type me as
I
INTP.
I will say
Um,
I've known one or two INFPs that thought they might be INTPs. So that, just so you know, that seems to be a
yeah,
common thing that. But in this other case, it was an X, and I knew she was
but
an
but then
INFP.
but
So
then it was like, I don't know that I'm as hardcore, rigid, logical as
right,
they are, and
I would
emotionally
agree.
detached. I'm not.
I think you're
I'm
more
not
of an ex.
detached enough.
I actually think you're more of an extroverted thinker, which an INFP would be. versus
Yeah,
an introverted thinker.
I've had people tell me that too. Well, you don't seem like you use TI, and for a
Mm.
while I thought I did because it's like, well, you know, because I was thinking I have strong principles and I want to, but
I
and
would
then the
actually say all of your thoughts about being idealistic and having strong principles is not something I hear from INTPs very much.
oh,
Not
okay,
that they don't have principles, but that's not a big priority for them. I'll just put it that way.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, and then and then I was considering I ISTJ.
Okay.
I've had some people in like other schools of thought,
Yeah.
like I don't know if
You
you're
could be
familiar
an
with
you
like
actually I disqualified that earlier on, but I feel like that would be a reason if I was an INFP, that's just another reworking of those same functions in a different order. ISTJ would not be out of the ordinary. But I'll tell you this, my dad's an ISTJ and you're not an ISTJ.
yeah, well, okay, yeah, um, yeah. There were some like other schools of like Myers Briggs thought, like well, not like I don't know if you're familiar with objective personality.
Mhm.
Like their system, they type me as ISTJ.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Eric Strauss, he typed me as ISTJ, and he kind of did a similar style to you, where he do like these little tests and
Sure,
stuff. And
sure. That's interesting.
um,
That's
yeah,
interesting that so two other ones came out ISTJ and I came out INFP is what you're saying.
yeah. And I mean,
Interesting.
I guess they use the same for cognitive functions, but then it's like
Yes.
ISTJ seems so, you know, they're a little more rigid. You know, on the whole, they're a little more
I
rigid
agree. I agree.
and routinized, and I'm not as strictly routinized. And I
The
always thought I had pretty good introverted sensing, like I
mhm.
could access that pretty well.
Mhm.
And so it's like, well, even though I usually get intuitive on tests, like I have a pretty good memory
Mhm.
of the past, and I
Mhm.
think about it a lot.
Mhm.
And I am like pretty organized, like with my living space and with my, you know,
Sure.
like with my time and my practical affairs. That's all pretty organized. So
I'm gonna say something very I'm going to say something very INFJ kind of here a little
okay,
bit. The people who have typed you have been thinking types, I think, right? Is objective personality that's
well,
superpowers?
Dave and Shannon
Yeah. Okay.
run that
She's an
channel, and
ENFP, I
they're
think, right?
both thinkers. Yeah, what one
Yeah.
is a yeah, it's an INTJ and an ENTJ.
Right. Okay, that's what it is. And then of
Yeah,
course Eric Strauss is ENTP. So,
yep.
or if you're CS Joseph, you think Eric Strauss is an ESTP. Um, but
Well,
I,
he's
I don't
not an
know.
he's
I don't think he's an ESTP, but
his NE is so like
yeah, he's kind of out there.
all over the place. You know, he can be kind of hard to follow sometimes because he just goes
Yeah, yeah.
off on
I like when he has some.
so many
I like
tangents.
when he does a video and he's got a reason behind it and he's gonna make this video. That's when I think he's at his best. When he's doing his live streams and kind of rambly, it's a little hard to follow him because he can just
Yeah,
go anywhere. So, um, but
and then
I'll go
and then
ahead. Go ahead.
the fourth one was ISFJ. And I've
Yeah.
had and I think who said it was IS? Oh, are you familiar with casual
Mm-hmm,
cognition,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
which used to be INFP
Yeah.
and INTJ coffee
Yeah. That's
until the
Calypso.
INTJ left.
That's Calypso.
And but I think she did it more. She did a lot like on nonverbals and stuff, and she thought, well, you know, you're more expressive. Like I think like an ISTJ might be more dry. So I think a lot of it was coming from the nonverbals, and I think just because, and sometimes I thought I had FE because I do think a lot about the feelings of other people, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, not wanting to hurt people and wanting to please them, but then I never quite feel sure how to do that. And it
Yeah.
seems like ISFJs, they're more savvy with FE
That's
than
true.
I could be. So
That's
yeah,
my best friend is an ISFJ, and he is a gentleman. Let me tell you,
yeah, hmm
he knows how to be a certain kind of way for people.
it's kind of like they know like the right kind of like the right words to
Yeah,
say
yeah,
like when you have a problem or you're down, and I
sure.
feel like I don't I kind of like what I feel for the person, but I don't always know the right thing to say, kind of like maybe I had to learn that.
Well,
Yeah,
to
it's not
me,
as natural.
listen, to me, you come across as way more FI than FE, just from the
Hmm.
conversation. I would see ISTJ as more plausible than
Hmm.
more plausible than ISFJ. And
Okay.
actually, I would
Hmm.
say it's the TE preference that's probably part of it. But um, the FI and the TE, that's what it is.
Yeah.
To me, that comes across a lot more
Hmm.
just from talking to you. I know it's such an
Yeah.
ambiguous thing for me to say, like
Yeah.
I can't like do scientific research on that. It's just my opinion.
Yeah. But
But
I think what I was more sure about was I'm probably an introvert, although I've had a few people suggest ENFP.
no,
Um,
no, I don't think so.
and I think yeah, because I think they're a little more scattered, especially with that NE and
Yeah,
kind of,
I was married to an ENFP actually.
and they're not as good at they wouldn't be as good at the SI. That would be a little they'd struggle with that more, and I
Probably,
don't
yep.
struggle with SI too much. I can kind of manage the SI, but I think um if I have to do too much intensive SI, it can wear me out after a
Uh,
while.
yeah, I'll tell you one of the reason why I think you're INFP and not ISTJ is
Hmm.
you mentioned that you will relive scenarios and kind of that's your mechanism of torturing yourself. And that level of self-reflection is something I've seen in INFPs but not in ISTJs so much.
Hmm.
ISTJs actually you kind of it sucks because ISTJs almost don't seem to want to do that kind of level of self-reflection. They
Hmm.
they they will retreat into their feelings, but it's not like I think an INFP is, let's see, the way I would say it is an ISTJ is focused more on their own efficiency, whereas an INFP might be focused more on improving their own values or improving their own perspective on the world or whatever it is. I don't just basically improving the it's not all about efficiency. Let's put it that way. It's there's something more there. There's something more there than just efficiency. There's
Right,
something
and
more
I kind of agree with
intangible.
that. I do think about, I do think about efficiency a fair amount,
Sure, but for
I don't think
ISTJs, it's a big priority. That
right.
is like a
And for
big
me, but I
deal.
think for me, it's kind of it's kind of like the people are concerned. Like, yeah, this
Hmm.
method is a yeah, sure, this method is efficient, but this method is gonna harm people or whatever. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
right, right.
okay, yeah, we can save the money, we can save the company money if we lay off these people or whatever. But yeah, but what about these people? Where are they going to go?
Right,
I
right.
mean, there's things like that where
Yes. That's it. That's it. That's a big clue right there, which is your ideals are a big part of who you are and what your vision about life is or how you want to operate. And that's I'll just say it this way. I'm not saying that an ISTJ or an ISFJ can't be idealistic, but I don't think it's a driving force necessarily. The
mhm,
ones that I know, and my best friend, like I said, my best friend's an ISFJ. I love him to death. And he takes care of his family and does a fantastic job. But
mhm,
his viewpoint isn't quite out in that direction the way yours is.
mhm,
And not to say that ISFJs aren't ever idealistic because that's not
mhm.
true.
I
But
think they're more like, from what I understand about ISFJs, they're kind of more like practical day-to-day caregiving.
yes, absolutely,
And it's
absolutely.
not maybe as much focused like on
Hmm.
long range
No,
humanity or something.
no,
They'll
no, no.
like
I mean, that's just been my experience so far from knowing ISFJs.
and I guess that's kind
Maybe
of one thing too that's like, okay, well, because I could relate to some things in the ISFJ profile, like being loyal and reliable and
hmm
kind and all that stuff. But then like this stuff about all this stuff that they would put in there about the caregiving, kind of like,
But there,
like they're like nurses and
I
stuff,
mean,
and
there
I'm
are
not.
INFP nurses too, so it's
Oh well, there's nurses in all 16 types, but
right.
I mean, well, you know what I'm getting at. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
I do.
kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm really a caregiver really, because I'm kind of caring more in my own mind, but I'm not always doing anything. It's kind of like sometimes I don't
Hmm.
want to be bothered doing things. I just want to, you know,
Okay, one last question I have for you. Can you think of any reason why you might not be an INFP?
um, I mean, this is just getting way into. I know this is bad to say, getting way into stereotypes and stuff, but they talk
Hmm.
about how INFPs are like really creative and like
Oh.
really poetic, and I'm not a very creative
I
person.
I wouldn't let that scare you away from the type necessarily. Um, like if anything, like think about it this way: Stephen Colbert is an INFP, and
Hmm.
yeah, he's an entertainer, but like
Yeah,
he's not a painter. You know what I mean? But he is kind of like more of like a teacher entertainer.
right.
He likes to entertain you, but he also has a message, and it clearly comes from his own like value system. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's the way I would say
And
it is.
like I said, I'm not creative in the artistic sense because I
Sure.
don't really make art, and I don't really have a need to, an urge to. I'd rather
Yeah.
be consuming the art. And I don't know that I come up with very many totally crazy out of the box solutions. I feel like I'm kind of just building more on what's already there.
Sure.
It's kind of like I want to be one of these out of the box revolutionary thinkers. I think that would be really cool.
Uh huh.
But then I feel like I'm just kind of going a lot from what worked in the past, and so that made me think, oh, maybe I'm really a sensing type because but then like I'd read about like these SJ types, and they're a little more regimented and
Yeah.
and traditional than I am. I'm not traditional for the sake of traditional. I mean,
Right.
I'll follow traditions that work, but I'm not going to follow it just because it's a tradition.
Right. And I guess I'll also just say, like I said, having a dad who is an ISTJ and having dated INFPs, um, you are much more flexible and fluid
Hmm.
than an ISTJ probably will
Oh yeah,
prefer to
yeah,
be. So I'm just that's just another way to say it is just
yeah. Hmm.
and I when I think of fluid, I don't think ISTJ. Like
Yeah,
that doesn't really fit too well.
yeah.
They're
Well, I think an
pretty rigid.
objective personality. I mean, again, this is stretching it, but they kind of have their own theory where, like you can have masculine and feminine
Sure,
forms of functions,
sure,
like 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 for example, like TE, it can be masculine where it's more kind of solid, shovey. This is what it is, and then the feminine form of TE, which seems a little more gentle. And so
sure.
like when they assessed me, that they said, well, you're an ISTJ, but you have feminine TE, so you're going to come off as a little less rigid. But then in your values, those are going to be what's more solid. So like your FI is masculine, so they would talk about. But
I don't know. That
but yeah,
that sounds like further such a deep level of permutations that it would be hard to wrap your head around.
yeah, they go down. Yeah, they go down like to a level of 512.
Right.
Because they.
I've looked at I've definitely like I think there it's interesting. Let's see. The way I would say it is this: the more precise a scientific instrument gets, the less regular everyday people can use it. So you
Mhm.
and I can use like probably a you know a pretty advanced microscope, but there's probably a certain point at which you have to have like a master's degree to be able to use it because
Yeah.
it's so complicated. You know what I mean? So there's a certain point I think where typology gets. I'm not saying what objective personality is doing, they shouldn't be doing it because it's interesting and yeah, do science on it, you know. But I mean, like for this kind of stuff where you're just kind of like, hey, what's my type or whatever, you just want to talk it through and figure it out. It can be, it's kind of like, well, yeah, then you have to learn each one's different methodology of
Yeah,
intricate
because
testing and.
and I think this is probably my my NE function because it's looking at all these different methodologies that people are using the
Mm-hmm.
union types and kind of comparing them all, and they're all taking different approaches, and
Yeah.
I can come out as different types in each of them. I'm not one type
Right.
across the board because
Right.
people are taking such different approaches. I mean, there's
But
some common threads like
what I do think is what it can do, what I imagine it would probably help you with is you can now look at the types that people have typed you as and see what the axes
oh yeah,
similarities
because
are,
they're
and
almost all like I almost always get like the SINE axis.
sure.
Um, and mostly the FITE axis, although I did get a tick mark for ISFJ, so that
Sure.
and INTP, so
But
so
I
but I think the trend kind of points more towards FITE,
mm-hmm,
and most people are saying introvert.
mm-hmm.
Though I did have somebody suggest ENFP, so
I think
but I
that's
kind of see
probably
where the general trend is going. Yeah,
yeah,
with you.
yeah. I mean, I guess the way I would say it is, I could see ISTJ, but it's not really, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my
Hmm.
opinion, I don't think you're an ISTJ. But whatever. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, if I'm just like superficially looking at the, like the 16 type profiles,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I think INFP would be closer than ISTJ. Just
Cool. Well, I hope my opinion may have helped
yeah,
provide some
yeah,
clarity
sure.
to it. Maybe
Yeah,
even just talking about what
yeah,
everyone else
yeah.
typed
Hmm.
you as is interesting.
Yeah.
I think.
It'll be interesting to see what the comments are and
I think so too. So yeah, please. Okay, we'll wrap the video up. Thanks for watching. Please comment below if you think Laura is an ISTJ or an INFP, because that seems to be the two that we're kind of down to. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the comments have to say. And thanks a lot. Have a good rest of your evening.
thank you very much. I'm happy to support your channel.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yep. Bye.
Take care, Laura.